She'd probably even want you to meet him. Reba paused, the words sinking in. Ben had a point. Barbara Jean, for all her flaws, was an open book, and she had invited Reba to meet Jordan, to join him at the gym. A wave of relief washed over Reba, quickly followed by a flush of embarrassment. She had let Brock's paranoia, and her own insecurities, cloud her judgment. Meet him, Reba repeated, a new resolve hardening her expression. Where are you going? Go down to the gym with the rest of the wackos, Reba declared, grabbing her car keys. She was going to clear Barbara Jean's name, and in doing so, perhaps, put her own mind at ease. As she headed out the door, Ben called after her, a mischievous grin on his face. All right, well, keep those arms as... Reba rolled her eyes, but a small smile touched her lips. She was Reba McEntire, survivor, pragmatic, and now, apparently, a reluctant spy, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of a power walker. Chapter 3. The Gym Jungle. The gym was a sensory overload. The rhythmic thud of weights, the whoosh of ellipticals, the insistent beat of pop music, and the faint, metallic tams of sweat permeated the air. Reba stood just inside the entrance, feeling utterly out of place in her faded sweats, a lone tumbleweed in a desert of sculpted perfection. Everywhere she looked, there were bodies, taut, toned, and glistening with a healthy sheen. It was like stepping into a magazine advertisement, a world she usually only glimpsed from the comfort of her couch. Oh, hey, Reba! Barbara Jean's voice cut through the din, a bright, welcoming sound. She emerged from a cluster of machines, her face flushed with exertion, but her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. She was wearing a vibrant pink sports bra and matching leggings that showcased her dramatically transformed physique. Yeah, Reba managed, her voice a little strained. She felt a familiar knot of insecurity tightened in her stomach. Barbara Jean looked incredible, unfairly incredible. Man, there's a lot of beautiful people around here, Reba observed, trying to sound casual, but the R in her voice was unmistakable. Barbara Jean leaned in conspiratorially, her eyes twinkling. You should see them naked in the shower. Reba's jaw dropped. Barbara Jean. A deep, resonant laugh rumbled from behind Barbara Jean. She squealed, turning to face the source of the voice. Reba watched as a man emerged from behind a row of treadmills. He was tall, with broad shoulders and an athletic build that spoke of countless hours dedicated to his craft. His dark hair was slicked back, and his smile was dazzling, revealing perfectly white teeth. He exuded an aura of effortless charm and confidence. Oh, Lord, Reba thought. Brock wasn't entirely wrong about the better-looking and younger part. Hey, Jordan said, his gaze sweeping over Barbara Jean, then briefly flicking to Reba. Ready to start, Barb Jean? Yeah, Barbara Jean replied, practically vibrating with excitement. She then gestured to Reba. Hey, you look great in that outfit. Oh, well, you know, the other ones get me kinda baggy, Barbara Jean demurred, though a pleased smile played on her lips. She then turned to Jordan, her voice hushed with pride. Can you believe her? She did the impossible. She lost all that weight, and kept these She gestured emphatically at her chest. Reba felt her face flush. Barbara Jean's choice of words was as bizarre as ever, but the underlying sentiment was clear. She was proud, and she wanted Jordan to acknowledge it. Okay, Jordan, this is my friend, Reba. Barbara Jean finally remembered to introduce them, a beat too late for Reba's comfort. Jordan extended a hand, his grip firm and warm. Hey, I'm Jordan. I'm Reba, she replied, trying to sound as unintimidated as possible. So, you gonna join us, Reba? Jordan asked, his smile unwavering, though his eyes held a professional assessment that made Reba feel like she was being evaluated for a fitness test she hadn't studied for. Oh, I don't know, Reba demurred, pulling her hand away. I just think that me and my, fellows will just watch for a while. She couldn't help but echo Barbara Jean's earlier word choice, a subtle dig at the absurdity of the situation. Jordan chuckled, a deep, pleasant sound. Well, Reba, you're not going to get into shape by just watching. You need to sweat a little. Yeah, but you guys gotta understand. It's been a while since I've been in a gym like this, and I don't think Reba began trying to articulate her discomfort, her feeling of being a fish out of water. Suddenly, Jordan clapped his hands together. Hello here. He gestured to a mat on the floor. Barb Jean, You really are getting limber. Barbara Jean beamed, dropping to the mat with surprising grace. Jordan knelt beside her, guiding her through a series of stretches. Reba watched, feeling a strange mix of fascination and horror. "Remember when you couldn't put your leg over my head?" Jordan asked, his voice low and encouraging as he helped Barbara Jean extend her leg in an impressive arc. "Remember when I didn't want to?" Barbara Jean retorted, a playful glint in her eye. Reba's eyes widened. "Okay, this is getting a little too intimate." She cleared her throat. Is that legal? I mean, necessary." Jordan looked up, his expression earnest. "It's critical to stretch the muscles out before you exercise them. Otherwise, you could really hurt something." He demonstrated, gently pressing Barbara Jean's leg further. "Turn over." Barbara Jean complied, a blissful expression on her face. Jordan then moved behind her, placing his hands on her back. "Reba, you need to watch this one," Barbara Jean called out, her voice slightly muffled. "This one is my favorite." Reba watched, her heart pounding a little faster. Jordan's hands moved expertly over Barbara Jean's back, guiding her into a deep stretch. His body was close to hers, their movements synchronized. It looked less like a professional training session and more like, well, Reba couldn't put her finger on it, but it certainly wasn't what she expected. "Now, this gives a good stretch to the back and chest muscles," Jordan explained, his voice calm and professional, belying the intimacy of their pose. "Really should do this once a day." "Oh, I'd do it all day if I could," Barbara Jean sighed, a dreamy quality to her voice. Reba felt a flush of heat rise to her cheeks. She wasn't sure if it was the gym's ambient temperature or the suggestive nature of the scene unfolding before her. "You know, is this one of these, gyms that have the heat on real high? I'm sweating." Jordan looked up, a knowing smile on his face. "Okay." He helped Barbara Jean up. "Time for some weightlifting." "Oh, good," Reba muttered, relieved that the stretching portion was over. "That's enough of that stretching." Jordan led Barbara Jean to a weight bench, where she laid down. He then stood over her, spotting her as she lifted a barbell. His face was concentrated, his muscles flexing with each repetition. "Hello! Hello," Reba mumbled to herself, her eyes darting between Jordan and Barbara Jean. The proximity, the focused intensity, the almost touch, it was all adding up to a picture that was making Reba increasingly uncomfortable. This wasn't just a trainer and his client. This felt charged. "Okay, knock this out," Jordan encouraged, his voice firm but gentle. Reba watched for a few more minutes, the evidence accumulating in her mind. Brock's paranoia, Barbara Jean's best boyfriend slip, her new attitude, and now this intimate, almost sensual workout session. It was all pointing to one conclusion, a conclusion Reba desperately wished wasn't true. "Yeah, okay, all right," Reba finally said, feeling a wave of nausea wash over her. "You know, I think I've seen enough." Barbara Jean midliff turned her head to Reba, a bright smile on her face. "So, what do you think? You have any interest in getting a personal trainer?" Reba forced a weak smile. "Only if he takes me out to dinner first." The sarcasm was lost on Barbara Jean, who was too caught up in her own world of fitness and newfound confidence. "Are you sure, Reba?" Barbara Jean insisted, oblivious. "Seriously, this is one of the best relationships I've ever had." Reba's heart sank. Relationship. There it was again. The word hung in the air, undeniable. I think Jordan has his hands full with you," Reba said, trying to sound diplomatic. She was a spy, not an accuser. She needed to gather her evidence, then make a report. "Oh, you're a beginner, Reba," Jordan interjected, his voice surprisingly gentle. "You'll start with..." He called out across the gym. A formidable woman, built like a brick house with a no-nonsense expression, stomped over. "Yeah," grunted, her gaze falling on Reba, assessing her with a single, piercing look. "This is Reba," Jordan explained. "She seems a little tense. I'd spend some extra time on the stretching." Cracked her knuckles, a predatory gleam in her eyes. "Hey, get down there." She pointed to an empty mat, her voice a low rumble. Reba felt a shiver of fear. Dot looked like she could bench press a small car, and she was tense. Reba had definitely seen enough. She needed to get out of there, to process what she had witnessed, and to deliver the devastating news to Brock. She mumbled a quick goodbye to Barbara Jean, who was already back to her weightlifting, lost in her own world. Reba practiced